gosh, Ben. Be able to hear her, but how long we got here, buddy? Waiting a long time. 10 minutes late. Hi guys, welcome to Threads Unfiltered. I am already having trouble. There we go. My name is Jason, and we are recording on a weird night.
We are. This is very interesting.
Yes, and we had some snafus on Sunday, and
sure did.
Almost had some more tonight, and but yeah. So my name is Jason, and you know Ben.
Hey there.
And then this is Erica, and it's Hamill, right?
Yeah, Erica Hamill.
Okay.
Yep.
So Erica, well, I don't know how we connected. I think Tim,
the new super fan.
Yeah, our new super fan said, you know, Erica's a good person that you need to talk to. And our focus is like talking to interesting people. Mm-hmm. So why don't you introduce what Threads is about to people that are just joining us?
Yeah, for our new fans and old fans alike. Threads Life Unfiltered is a podcast all about, well, life. And we talk about things in an unfiltered manner. So much of what we see on social media is polished up and curated. People post about the finest moments of their lives, and it's like the highlight reel on social media. And sometimes when you click through that, it can be very discouraging and disheartening even. So we want to be the opposite of that. It's not like we're just going to, throw all of our dirty laundry out to dry, but,
well,
I mean, we could, but we want Threads to be a space where we can have honest, authentic conversations with people about things that matter. And that's definitely the direction that we're headed in tonight.
So, yeah, like I said earlier, the super fan Tim. Now, that's said with love, yes. Of course.
Oh, nothing but love.
Nothing but love. So, Erica, you're trying to get past a law called Wyatt.
About almost over 5 years ago, my son was shaken almost to death by my ex-husband's girlfriend. And I had a lot of suspicions about her when I was going through my divorce. And to make a long story short, everything that I tried to look her up on with Otis, the offender tracking information system, Googled her name. I even searched her on the sex offender registry. And then I didn't have her birth date either, so I really didn't have a leg to stand on when trying to prevent overnight visits from my ex-husband. So she shook Wyatt almost to death on November 1st, 2013, and he suffered a major brain bleed, fractured skull, bilateral retinal hemorrhages, broken ribs. Case came into the prosecutor's office as a homicide because they did not expect him to make it. And but he did. He survived, and we were in the hospital for 2 months. And one of the things that I found out from the police after this happened was that the woman, her name's Rachel Edwards, she had been convicted twice of child abuse prior to hurting my son. And when I say convicted, I mean convicted. It's not something that CPS just convicted her of. She had a trial. So she was convicted of a 3rd degree in 2011 and a 4th degree in 2013, just
Wow.
before she was sentenced 10 days before she almost killed Wyatt to
Oh my
probation and
gosh.
fines. Yeah, on her second time, the judge gave her probation and fines. So, and I mean, these were severe charges. She had beat this child and then drugged this child. So,
And she got probation?
Probation and fines both times, even on her second offense, which was just mind-boggling.
No
I mean,
kidding.
had the judge just put her in county jail for 30 days, she wouldn't have gotten her hands on Wyatt. Well, at least that day. But my mind went right to like, oh my God, first of all, my suspicions and, the rumors I was hearing were true. And then how was I not able to pull that information up? I'm like, do we have a sex offender registry? People that are convicted of sex crimes against children, they have to register. And, I basically just for a year focused on Wyatt after that. And then I was like, I have to do something. I've never felt so called to do something. And I just started a petition online on change.org. This was November of 2014. And it took off, and I wrote my local legislators like completely grassroots, and that was the beginning of Wyatt's Law, which we introduced. We were the first. I'm really proud of this. We were the first state in the United States to introduce this legislation.
Really?
So yes. So it would.
Why doesn't this exist?
That seems bizarre. That.
Let me tell you something. I get that all the time. I get that this doesn't exist. Like, it's crazy. And I think even the legislators that I was working with were kind of shocked when we went and looked and realized that literally this didn't exist anywhere. And child abuse laws are written on a state level. So, so it's got to go, state by state. But no other state had done it. So the first round of bills, and again, child abuse should not be a political issue, like a Republican Democrat type thing, and it unfortunately was that at first.
Man.
It and I could not get any bipartisan support. So the first round of bills died, and then we gave it a go. So the first time around, I got a committee hearing, which was huge. Second time around, and each time is 2 years. So the second time around, we passed Senate, which Senate this past December, it passed unanimously in the Senate, but we could not get the House to touch it. It was lame duck. So, and then here we are. We just reintroduced the bills last week.
Okay.
And I mean, Wyatt's Law would create a registry for those convicted of physically abusing children. So right now, like, other than the sexual assault crimes, like, there's child abuse degrees 1 through 4 here in the state of Michigan. So, and what's happening and what we're finding is these people that hurt children, people think they go to prison for the rest of their lives, and they don't.
Yeah.
The woman who hurt my son, who almost killed my son, was convicted, and she's in prison right now, but she only got 33 months to 10 years. So she'll get out someday, and as I've started this journey, I've had so many parents reach out to me from all over the world. And, I mean, I had no idea how bad of an issue this was. Yeah. And I had to do something. And I felt, like I had to do something. Yeah. That's all I can say.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, I guess it's the mama bear instinct that comes out, but do you have any career experience or
no?
What's your background and how did you find yourself where you are now?
I honestly, I was married young. I'm 30, gonna be 31, but I was married at 22. I did some college, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, and then I thought I met like the love of my life, got married, and
Sure.
my life plan was to have 3 kids by the time I was 30 with him, and you know, but life happens, and
Yeah.
but I honestly got like I worked in the dental industry, but nothing like in office administration. I knew nothing about this topic, knew nothing about this field. I mean, I have one thing I can feel confident saying is I've done my research because I
Yeah.
think, you know, I have, I've had people ask me if I'm a social worker, but I just know so
Right.
much about the system from dealing with social workers, doctors, you know, CPS themselves. Like you know, you just learn a lot, and I feel like my mind, just absorbs so much of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and it stays there because I'm meant to do this.
Yeah.
How frustrating was it when you were trying to get somewhere and it's like me in tech?
Right.
I get so frustrated. And how was it like not knowing anything? Like, you know,
Oh my gosh! Well, first of all, I wrote Debbie, like, you know, Senator Debbie Stabenow,
okay.
and because I had no idea child abuse, like I had no idea who my state legislators were. I will admit
Yeah.
that. Like,
Sure.
I just
That's
knew like
fair.
Debbie Stabenow, and but then you know, she did write me back right away, and she's just like, you know, this I'm on the federal level, and child abuse laws are written on a state level.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
man, have I learned way more than I even wanted to learn about state government, but I have learned how important state government is. I mean,
Yeah.
truly, all the way down to like your city council. It is so important. And I'm a big advocate of, you know, getting people my age out to vote and stuff like that because I have seen it truly. I mean, this is from the grassroots up. And I wouldn't have been able to get this far without the people that represent me in my city.
Sure.
So,
What was it like when you heard the news that he had been shaken or something was wrong and he was in the hospital? Can you describe what that felt like? I mean, we kind of know, but I mean, do you still remember that day where you're like,
no, absolutely. You know, I got the phone call from Wyatt's father that he had been rushed to Children's Hospital, and I had no freaking clue what I was
Hmm.
walking in on. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought maybe Wyatt had an allergic reaction. I'm thinking why, and his dad would not give me any like anything,
Ugh.
any logistics or what was going on. What no idea. So I literally got there, and as soon as I walked into the ER, and somebody from the neurosurgery team met me, and as soon as I saw her, I knew it was bad. I could
Ugh.
just tell. You could just tell right away, and she's just.
So you
It
had
stopped me
no,
in my tracks.
yeah, you had no context or no awareness that this was
No,
a.
nope. And I immediately after I heard what the injuries were, and then they know they're experts down there, so they
Sure.
know right
yeah,
away at Children's Hospital Michigan. They know right away. They said to me right away, it's non-accidental.
Yeah.
That's the term they use. And
Oh
I
man.
immediately was like, oh my god, she did it.
Yeah.
Like, she did this to my son. That was my first, you know.
What? Oh.
was she at the hospital when you were there?
Yes, she had.
Oh
Oh no.
no.
I had a moment. I keep pretty cool, but I had a moment to where I remember darting. I saw her. I darted towards her. I had the guard and the
Hmm.
social worker throw me into a room
Oh
and
man.
kind of give me an invisible slap across the face and just basically said to me, "You need to get yourself together.
Yeah.
Don't do anything stupid because Wyatt needs you. Wyatt
Right.
Yeah.
needs you." And that
Right.
really stuck with me. They said let the police handle it,
Hmm.
and yeah,
So they
and
were
You.
they were already know that something might have happened like that.
oh
So
yeah,
they were
they already knew. The hospital called the police, and the
okay.
hospital called CPS. So
Good.
and then of course, you know, they have different they have I don't know how someone could do this for a living, but they actually have a doctor at the hospital that they call it like a child abuse doctor, where
Mm.
she puts the pieces together and, you know, testifies in court. And God, I couldn't do that for a living.
No
Wow.
kidding.
Yeah.
That is just insane. So I just can't imagine that moment of seeing her and feeling that rage, and yeah, I don't know if I could stop myself from putting my hands
You
on
know,
her either.
the number one answer I get from people when I tell them what happened to Wyatt, they tell me, if it were my child, they'd be dead. That person would be
Right.
dead.
Yeah.
I get that over and over. And, you know, at first I just, you know, honestly, like, I get it so much. It kind of ticks me off because I'm like, what am I not, you know, because I didn't go off her, you know, like, does that make me, you know, not a good enough mom? Because everybody, if this didn't happen to me, I would say the same thing
Yeah,
on the outside.
no, I think, I mean, I
Because
would
you know what
probably
would
kill him.
happen if I would have, you know, if I would have gone after her and did something to her, I would be in prison, and then I would probably be getting a longer sentence than she would be. That's what would be happening, and Wyatt would have nobody.
Yeah.
So
I do, just about me a little bit. I was abused as a kid quite a bit. Until I was strong enough to stop it. And so I do have a little bit of connection with that and not having a registry. And that's one thing I do talk about is like, I wonder if anyone knew at school or I don't know. I look back now and it was kind of alone. And I'm wondering if someone would have said something or if they're, like you said, a registry that it would have been stopped.
Yeah.
I guess this is kind of a question for you. I just kind of popped in my head. If there was a registry, what would you have done if you know that your ex-husband's girlfriend had that charge against her?
I would have brought it into court because when you go through a divorce, you get a custody, you know, hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we brought up the rumor I kept hearing was that she did not have custody of her own children. And it didn't make any sense to me because when I would drop Wyatt off with his father, she would be there with her kids.
Oh, interesting.
But come to find out, she didn't have custody of her kids. The dads of the children were just letting her have them. That's a whole nother thing. But regardless, I know that when the police gave me a copy of her arrest records, I went and her conviction. I filed an emergency motion because, you know, God forbid Wyatt, the insurance didn't go through for Wyatt, you know, because he had to go to a rehab unit.
Yeah, sure.
After a surgery, I was like, I cannot risk his dad getting custody of him. And as soon as I put the paper in front of the judge, she like dropped that gavel and she's like, told my ex-husband, your parenting time is terminated and you lost all custody. It was instant. So I absolutely do know if I had this information, I would have been able to prevent this from happening to Wyatt. And you know, it's really important for, you know, like I say, the word conviction, because I want to reassure people. I know there's been issues in the past with the sex offender registry.
Sure.
And what a lot of people don't know is it's been rectified. Things like urinating in public or even they call it like the Romeo and Juliet law, which would be two teens having consensual sex. Like that's not something you can be put on the registry anymore for.
I did not know that. I know the peeing thing was huge. Like, why is this guy like on the sex offender list for peeing in public?
Yeah.
The new rule is that you have to be caught 3 times on a school playground, and I think that's pretty legit.
Yeah.
No, I agree. You got an issue then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we came to, you know, we have a lot of the ACLU is very against registries, and they've been our biggest obstacle. And you know, one of the things we tried to come to an agreement or a compromise with is, you know, everyone's like, oh well, the sex offender registry is a lifetime registry, and that's horrible. So we're like, all right, we'll put a 5-year and a 10-year rule, and if you're convicted of 1st or 2nd degree child abuse, you're on it for 10, 3rd or 4th degree, 5 years. So, you know, I'm a believer. If you hurt a child, like you don't. To me, you should be on it forever.
Yeah,
but
no kidding. So there's people who actually don't like this idea.
Oh my gosh, that's why it hasn't passed. I mean, it's.
Well, I think what you're describing is a lot of the issues with lobbyists and stuff like that with ACLU. I mean, there's big pocketbooks involved.
I don't have big pocketbooks. I don't get paid to lobby up there. I don't.
Right.
I don't anything. And I mean, I've been lucky to have the media as like a platform, and honestly, it's just a matter of me never shutting up about it and just.
Sure.
I was told in the very beginning this would never get to bill form, this would never get to committee hearing, I would not, and then I had one of the chairmen of the committees be like, all right, I'll give you a hearing, but you're never going to get this off Senate floor, and I've done it all. So I don't, you know, and I should also say the state of Indiana contacted us for a copy of our bills
Really?
back a few years ago, and then they passed it unanimously. And actually, the current vice president, Mike Pence, was the governor of Indiana at the time, and he signed it into law in 2016.
Wow.
So they were the first state, and then just recently, the state of Utah passed it.
So wait, Indiana took your bill that you worked through and everything,
Yes,
and did it, and it's a rule now there, right? There's a registry
yep,
there.
there's a registry. Yep.
Oh,
yep.
come on, Michigan. Let's
Right.
go.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And I mean, April's Child Abuse Awareness Prevention Month, and they come out with this report, the Michigan League of Public Services, and it's called the Kids Count, and the data is about 18 months to 2 years behind. So the data that just came out this last April was from 2017, and this is just confirmed cases of child abuse in Michigan.
And there's so many more that are not reported.
Yeah, no, and these are just confirmed.
Sure.
Confirmed 41,462 confirmed cases of child abuse. And I don't know how anyone can hear that number and like how people can brush it off. I know my state legislator representative Kevin Hertel told me that he was the only legislator who came to they do a rollout, like a little presentation about it. And he's like, I was the only legislator, there. And that blows my mind.
No kidding.
We have an animal abuser registry here in Michigan. Logan's Law.
Ugh.
So, and I love animals. I love my dog. But I would never put a child's life, a dog's life over a child's life.
No kidding.
It's just, that's a whole nother battle. That I have to deal with.
What help and connections have you made with maybe other parents that have experienced this? Is there a lot more people out there than you knew, or?
Oh my gosh, so many. It blows my mind. I've had girls I've graduated high school with that I haven't talked to since then contact me, and they're like going through a divorce. My ex is dating somebody I have a lot of concerns about. And basically the bottom line, they're like, Erica, how can I keep my kids safe? And I'm like, there's only so much you can do. I give them the tools that I use, but having something like Wyatt's Law would be just such a valuable piece of information. I always ask people, I was like, wouldn't you want to know if your next door neighbor was convicted of child abuse? And
yeah, no kidding.
Everyone's like, yeah. And then I was like, would you be sending your kid over there? And they'd be like, no. So I mean, it's every statistic shows that people that abuse again, and it's a cycle. It's a cycle, and and abuse can happen to anybody. I come from a good family. Thought I was marrying a great guy. My family thought I was marrying a great guy. I mean, it never would have thought my child would have been affected.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the issue where maybe there's a hiccup is, like everyone agrees that sexual offenses are horrible, right?
Yeah.
But like back in the day, in the 70s, I grew up mid-70s, spanking was a thing, right? So it's kind of like we just don't really talk about it. And, and I think it's going to take some time, because when initially I connected with you and found out and read a little bit, I was like, you know what? Why isn't there a registry? It seems pretty simple. And I don't know why we're struggling.
Just say something on the spanking thing, because I get this question all the time. The law protects you. You can spank your children. Yes. The law protects you against this. Because everyone's like, oh, am I going to spank my kid and then be on this registry? No.
Yeah.
And to be even charged with child abuse, it is so hard to prove in court, especially when there's multiple people that are around.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the prosecutor telling me, she's like, I have all these warrants that they want issued, and I can't issue them because I don't have the evidence to bring it to court. So, but yeah, I mean, it's up 30. Child abuse is up 30% in the state. I pull these statistics every year, and they've increased over the last 5 years. They've increased every single year.
Wow.
Let's talk about Wyatt a little bit.
Yeah.
How is he doing? What kind of lasting effects did that have?
Sure. So Wyatt is a living, breathing miracle. Like I said, his case came in as a homicide. They didn't expect him to make it. He so he's had, and since everything happened, he's had 4 brain surgeries, 2 eye surgeries. He's permanently blind in his left eye from the shaking because his retina is detached, and from the bleeding behind the eye. I mean, seriously, it's miraculous he got his vision back in the right. So he wears glasses. He's cognitively impaired and developmentally delayed. He's in a special ed kindergarten program, and he has permanent brain damage. He suffers seizures, so he takes seizure meds every day. He just started talking a ton within since the fall.
Oh,
It's
really?
funny.
Oh, wow.
He was nonverbal in the beginning of his school year, and now he's chit chatting away.
That's
That is so
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome. But he struggles. Like today, the weather's unstable,
Yeah.
so he's got a shunt in his head. But even regardless, any type of head injury, you're really affected when the weather kind of, they call it the barometric pressure change, and so he just gets irritable, more sleepy. He'll say, "Mama, head hurt. Mama, head hurt," and it just breaks your heart. And and sometimes, even though he does have the speech, sometimes he can't process what he wants to say.
Sure.
So, and then he gets frustrated. So,
And that's gonna be hard.
but we're very blessed. I mean, I can only work part-time because Wyatt is he's an outpatient PT, OT, and speech still.
Oh, wow. So that's
So,
probably your full-time job.
oh my God. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I've met so many people through this tragedy, shaken baby syndrome, and there's kids that are in wheelchairs or in trachs, and I count my blessings every day. I don't know why Wyatt is doing so well, or kind of like why God made Wyatt the way he is, because and maybe it's because I meant to do this work. Sometimes I think that because I've got to do this because something's got to be done, and yeah, so.
One aspect that kind of comes to mind for me is what's going on in the head of the perpetrator that causes them to even get to that point of hurting a child. Like, we need to do better as a people of, doing the preventative work to make sure
Absolutely.
people don't get to that level.
No.
I had a former coworker that I worked with for about 6 months. During the time that he started at my company, he and his girlfriend had a baby, and 4 or 5 months down the road, he's just having a really hard time being a dad and just having a hard time adjusting.
Yeah.
New job, everything was super stressful. Well, next thing you know, I wake up one morning and I'm looking through the news on my phone, and I see my buddy's mugshot. And I look at the photo and I read the story, and he shook his son so violently that the son actually died. And
oh my God.
Yeah, that was pretty life altering. Honestly, I took it hard. And the place that my mind went was, how did we not know things were that bad for him?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm not trying to,
No.
paint your ex's girlfriend in a light that she doesn't deserve, but at the same time,
yeah, you are, and she should be in that light.
Yeah, but no. But honestly, like after I pass Wyatt's Law, one of the things that I want to continue to do is I had several friends last year have babies at various hospitals, at least here in the Metro Detroit area, and I asked, even when I would go up to visit them or the baby, none of them got pamphlets on shaken baby syndrome. Everything was on like SIDS and safe sleep and all that, because it's important to know that it's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay that you're gonna get mad. You're gonna be like, oh my God, I can't do this, or the baby won't stop crying. But there's ways, there's help. I mean, walking away, or just simple stuff like that. I think, no, I think definitely there needs to be some preventative, because one shake is all it takes is what we always say in this, community.
Well, and to answer your question, how can somebody do that? Well, I was abused as a kid, so I broke the cycle, but I think they already have it ingrained in them.
Yes.
So it's not like they have normal wired brains. They're like, I can just walk away. You know what I mean? Because if that's all they know, so it's been years and years of therapy to work through all that stuff. But that's why I don't think it's I feel like if you would look at the suspects in all of those and you would look back at their life, they probably had abuse. I mean, almost probably 9 times out of 10.
A child who's abused is 9 times more likely to become a criminal.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it is. And I don't know much about her childhood. I know her family's, I don't know much about them. They
sure.
But it didn't seem like she came from a very good family. And I can tell you, too, that she was prescribed several psychiatric meds. And when they gave her a urine test after, she shook Wyatt, none of it was in her system. She was selling it or doing something not right. She wasn't taking it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, because obviously you have to think these people are literally sick in the head. I mean, there's a big mental illness factor in this. And this is what I always say when I go up to the parole hearings, which I've been up 3 times. She's been denied all 3 times, but I'll do it every year. But and it's only because, honestly, what's sad is it's only because this is a high profile case. So if it wasn't a high profile case, she probably would have been out by now. But, I tell them, in prison, they can watch her take her meds. She can, someone has to watch her swallow her meds when she gets let out, and her family is very in denial. I mean, even in the court proceedings, they believe that she was wrongfully accused. I mean, she manipulated my ex-husband to believe that she was wrongfully convicted on the 2 other times. She could manipulate her. And so who's going to be out there supporting, watching her take her meds? And that's why I know she would do it again.
That's a scary thought.
So where in the process are you? I know you rattle off at the beginning as I was getting settled in, and after our technical snafu, I may have missed it.
No, that's okay.
Where is the bill? It went through the Senate, right? Or vice versa?
So last year, the bill. So what we did is my state representative, Representative Kevin Hertel's brother is a state senator, Curtis Hertel, and he represents the East Lansing area. So that was a really great thing because, we decided to go, but first time around, it was just the House. And I was working with Representative Sarah Roberts, and former Representative Derek Miller. And Derek Miller was actually a Macomb County, he is currently a Macomb County prosecutor and had prosecuted Rachel previously. So it was kind of like, our heads all coming together. And then because of term limits, then Representative Hertel took over. And the second time around, we had bills on both sides. And the Senate side, I was able to get moving. And like I said, we were not expecting a unanimous vote. And we got it. So, but unfortunately they died. So, again, we started a new term and reintroduced them. So it's a 3-bill package on both the House and the Senate side. And they both have been assigned to the judiciary committees. So now I'm in the process of trying to get committee hearings.
Okay.
I feel so bad. I don't know. Anyway, like you learned at school how a bill was passed, and I'm like, You just explained it again, and I'm like, this sounds like Chinese. Like
it's crazy, and it's crazy when you make progress, and then it just start over again. I mean, I've seen there was a mom in Ohio who passed a law for stiffer penalties. I mean, stiffer penalties on child abuse. Took her 10 years. She just got it done at the end of last year. 10 years. Like, I just don't get it. I think that was it's still really hard for me to wrap my mind around how this isn't a priority and this isn't, but like you said, lobbyists, big pocketbooks,
Yeah, it's a shame.
How has your general mental health been? Like, what keeps you going to say, because I'm sure you like, figuratively get the door slammed in your face, and
Oh,
you're like, why do
yeah.
you be like, all right, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I'm done.
What's the drive that keeps you going?
Well, I mean, that's easy. The Wyatt's my drive that keeps me going. The kids that I every single day, my news feed has child abuse cases in it from all over, but it's just in my face all the time.
Yeah.
And because it's happening every day, all the time. But I mean, I don't, it's just, I've never been driven. Like I said, it's truly like a calling for me. And the way I blow off steam, like it took several months for Wyatt's perpetrator to be arrested. So I started kickboxing, and now I kickbox and I do Krav Maga. So
what is
So
that?
don't mess with you.
What is that?
Krav Maga is an Israeli military fighting style.
Oh boy.
I mean, I love it, and that's where I take my frustration out.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I'm there. That's usually where I spend my mornings. Is with Wyatt's in school, because if I go into work, it's in the afternoon. So yeah.
Okay.
How has your family been as regards to like supportive? Now I know you went through divorce. I've been through a divorce too. I had a manipulative ex-wife. I feel like I'm not trying to compare our lives, but I think there's some themes.
There's some threads.
There's some threads. How did I forget that? There's some threads. Yeah, like I just wonder how your family has been in regards to supporting you.
Yeah, I have an amazing family. Unfortunately, my mom passed when I was 16. So and that's a whole nother thing. I mean, that was really hard, and but I have a great dad, and my dad's my rock, and he's Papa to Wyatt and Wyatt's favorite person, and I mean, I have a great older brother. I that has been, honestly, my support system is huge, from my friends to my family to people I've never met, like people like Tim, who just, I'm so humbled, and truly, I have so many people rooting for this cause and for me and for Wyatt. And it's felt like I know I have, I keep a Facebook page about Wyatt called Wyatt the Warrior.
Oh, awesome.
And it, if I'm having a bad day, or if like Wyatt's got a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and I've had doctor's appointments where they just don't go that great, and you hear something you don't want to hear. And then I post about it, and I'm always honest and, unfiltered, and people just really they're awesome, and, they lift you up and they're encouraging. And I have some other special needs mamas that maybe they haven't been affected by shaken baby syndrome, but by other things. And it's nice to have that support system.
Yeah.
So.
No kidding. So talk to us a little bit about what were the days and weeks immediately after the incident. Does that seem like it just went by in a flash, or did those days just drag on? Like, what was that like?
It was a flash. It was absolutely a flash, because it was, I mean, there's no words to explain it. Wyatt was on life support. Yeah. He was in the ICU. He was in the PICU for just under a week. Okay. And then once we knew he was going to survive, because, they have to take off each tube and each machine and see how he reacts. And then, the first scans were not good and didn't show much brain activity. So we didn't think, we thought he'd be in kind of like in a vegetative state. And I had one doctor who just told me that kids are resilient, and to not pay attention or focus or dwell on these test results, and just trust the process. And it was really like a life-changing piece of advice, and that's what I did. And when he was moved to the rehab unit at Children's Hospital Michigan, which I'm so blessed that we have, they not only saved Wyatt's life, they were like a second family to us. They're still like family to us. We go up there and visit. He got therapy. Therapy is the stimulation when something in the brain, obviously a major head injury, and the back of his brain is dead. You have to stimulate other parts of the brain to take over. So that's what they do. And Wyatt therapy. all Wyatt knows is therapy, occupational speech and physical therapy.
Yeah.
So, and he loves it, and he loves his therapist and
That's
everything like
awesome.
that. But, it definitely took a lot of sacrifice because I couldn't work anymore, and at
Sure.
least for the first couple of years, and my life got flipped upside down. My ex-husband was not allowed to see Wyatt, and
Hmm.
so doing this all on my own. I mean, thank God
Yeah.
for the family support,
No
but
kidding.
yeah.
So one of the things that we talk openly about on our show is just mental health, and more specifically, seeking help and seeing a counselor when needed. Um, my experience with that has been, I went for a while after going through some pretty significant losses in life, but then I just kind of started to trickle out and not really go anymore. And I would say it's really because of Threads and because of Jason's pushing and prodding and asking me about therapy that I finally went back, and I found
Good.
that was just an incredible experience. So, having been through something so traumatic like you have, what role does counseling and mental health
Oh,
play for you?
well, I when I was a teenager, and especially after my mom died, I was very clinically depressed. So
Mm,
I already had the ball in motion. I already had a therapist.
awesome.
I already took medication, and that still is a big part of my life. And
Sure.
because I mean, and I think that was part of the too. I have like the Krav Maga kickboxing portion. I consider that part of my mental health
Yeah,
regimen.
no
I really
kidding.
do.
That's
And
awesome.
I have found that it is so important for me to be healthy physically and mentally,
Hmm.
because there's no way I could take care of Wyatt if I wasn't that way.
Sure.
And everyone's like, Erica, you're so strong, how do you do it? I'm like, girl, I take some medication and I have a therapist, like, and then
Yeah.
I kick and punch things during the week. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
That's
not
perfect.
it trust me, I'm very open about talking about mental health because I think it's important, and you need it. I mean, everybody could use a therapist. That's what I always say.
Well, the mental health goes hand in hand, especially with the people that are abusing. I mean,
Mm.
clearly they have some issues, and again, another kind of stigma thing is that mental health people don't want to get help. They're like, oh, what are
No.
people going to think? And that's what that we don't really have a mission statement for our podcast, but that is the reoccurring theme. We just tell people that, like, we interview, like, hey, it's okay, get some help. It's been helpful. I mean, you might take you a couple times to find the right person, but
Yeah.
it is going to be huge for you. And yeah, we're just kind of
And
spew that a lot.
I will definitely say, even like what Ben said, when you think you're doing better and you kind of steer away from it, like, no, you still do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just still stick with it. And even if, like, I have points where, maybe I definitely have some seasonal depression. So in the wintertime, I get more down, and especially during my mom had brain cancer, and it was
Hmm.
a quick, pretty traumatic. They diagnosed me with PTSD after. It was
Yeah.
pretty
Oh, I
traumatic on
bet.
me. So, during those times, I just know I need to see my therapist more often.
Sure.
And then kind of as, like, the sun comes out, and, maybe I only touch base with her once a month. It just
Yeah.
kind of all depends. But
I
it's
mean,
just important.
it is. And the way I see it, we take better care of our vehicles by taking them in for regular oil changes. We take better care of our cars than we do our mental health. And
That's so true.
that's the
It's so
problem.
true.
Except Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Ben has trouble taking care of his car.
it's true, but that's a different story.
but one of the the guy, his name is Grandmaster Brian, and he owns my martial arts studio, and he's my instructor. And one of the things that he preached about when I first started there was that I had to put myself first. And I was like, excuse me? Like, no, my son comes first.
Right.
Like, I argued with
Wyatt's
him about
first.
it. And he's like, no, because how are you going to take care of him if you're not physically and mentally in the best shape? And it took a minute for that to click, but it clicked. And I think that's why I've been doing martial arts for 5 years, and I usually never miss. And because I am mentally and physically the strongest I've ever been, and Wyatt is thriving. And
That's
I hope
awesome.
that, it's, because he's got a strong mother, and I, like I said, it's just really important to take care of yourself. And
Yeah.
it's okay to put yourself first.
Definitely. Because when you put yourself first, it's like your instructor said, that enables you to take care of everybody else in your life.
Yep.
That's so important.
Yeah.
I've heard you kind of mention a couple of times just the word calling and mention just the miracle that Wyatt is. Just curious, are you a person of faith?
I am. I
Okay.
am, most definitely.
Awesome. So Jason and I both come from Christian families. What was that like for you? I mean, you've talked about it before, but I just have a hard time reconciling the thought of you growing up in church and then going home and getting...
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible. I mean,
That's something.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you don't understand. I mean, as I got out of the house an adult, I'm like, this is bizarre. Like, why am I experiencing this and then going to church? And that's another thing we
Right.
talk about is the hypocritical
Yes.
Christians of how everyone's perfect and prim, and then before I went to church, my mom was beating my ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For whatever reason, because I didn't
Yeah.
look the right way. So yeah, that is tough.
It is a tough thing. Yeah. And that's why I was raised Catholic, and so I'm constantly, obviously you see with, with the priests and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
And I taught catechism for a little bit before I was married or anything like that. And one of the classes, like the training classes we took, is that just to realize that even though like a priest or even just a pastor, like they're just they're wired to be a child abuser, no matter if they were a priest, no matter what they do. It's just it's not like they're a child abuser because they're a priest. No, they're
Sure.
it's already kind of ingrained in their brain, and that's just it's unfortunate. And I'm glad that it's coming out more about it so that we can get these people out of there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think those kind of people, we talked about that, I think, on Zane's podcast,
We
how
did, yeah.
he wondered if they became that way when they were
right,
a priest or were that way before, and we all were like, well, they were that way before. They were
No,
just
you're
drawn
that way
to
then,
that
yeah.
because the advantage of having-
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
Yep.
yeah.
So what role does your faith play as you continue to advocate for Wyatt and for this cause?
I mean, it's just I'm it keeps me grounded. It keeps me humble. It keeps me, I, like I said, it's hard to explain because how do you, like I always say, how do I thank God for saving my child? It's just something, I mean, but I do every day. And I don't know. I have no doubt in my mind, divine intervention. I mean, everybody was praying for him. There was a priest I knew that I had Skyped with
Oh,
at
wow.
the hospital who was in Rome, who was at the
Man.
Vatican.
Wow.
And I just really, like I said, it's just, there's no medical way to explain why it, because of
Sure.
the severe head trauma he went through. And when his 5-year survivor anniversary was this past November, and I took I didn't get to thank the police, and I thought it was really important to thank the police and the first responders, and
Sure.
because a lot of times they don't get to see these kids after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And there was one guy, the detective on our case in particular, who was awesome to me and everything like that. And the last time he had saw Wyatt was on life support. So when he saw Wyatt, walking around, running around, it was very emotional
Oh,
on
I
him.
bet. No
And
kidding.
but it was pretty cool at the same time. And because I like I said, they don't get thanked enough. And I have no doubt there was a first responder that made the decision to take Wyatt straight to Children's instead of to the nearest hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no doubt that saved his life.
Yeah.
Just because he saw how bad he was.
Yeah.
And but yeah, and but that was a really great thing we did, and I really enjoyed that. And it's important because again, I can't imagine having that kind of job, and then definitely you don't get to see what happens afterwards. You just
Yeah. No kidding.
yeah.
So I want to, we'll wrap up here, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I've learned some things, and what can we do as listeners or Ben and I to help the cause? I know I've been following a little bit of your Facebook page.
Yeah.
We can definitely share that. But what's the number one thing you'd like people to do to help?
I mean, the number one. I mean, other than report child abuse, that is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Like, if you see something, if something's not right, even if, like, speak up. Even if, like I said, I know there's only so much you can do, but that little thing you do can make a huge difference. I mean, that's the number one thing. And then like I said, if you go to the group page, Wyatt the Warrior, I keep everyone posted not only on the legislation but also Wyatt's health and I write your local legislators. They want to hear from you. They really do. If
Sure.
I can't stress that enough, and a lot of people don't know who they are, and you can just simple Google search, type in your address, and like I said, they want to hear from you. And what you can do is just write them and tell them to support these bills, and yeah, that would help me the most. And anytime I get to talk about Wyatt or just share Wyatt's story, it's another person that sees it. So yeah.
And here's another dummy legislative thing. So our representative for like Grand Rapids, can we reach out to him and say, hey, this is a bill that's important to me, and that'll be beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to dig up who our rep. I mean, I kind of know. Maybe Pete Hoekstra. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I'm
hard
terrible.
because I didn't know anything about this, and like I said, they only serve, at least the state reps, they only serve 3 2-year terms, so it goes quick.
Oh yeah.
And then the senators get 2 4-year terms, but yeah. And I always say make sure to cite the bill numbers because that's what they care about. Because you hope that I hope by now most people up there know what Wyatt's Law is, but I know not everybody does. So
yeah, I think maybe citing the bill would, because they probably don't read their email right away. Someone else filters in like, oh, this
absolutely.
is important. We need to forward this.
Yeah, exactly. And if they say, put in the subject title House Bill 4527, 4528, 4529, they know it's in bill form.
It's
so
legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the best thing. That's the best thing anyone can do.
Okay. Do you have any other questions for Erica?
No, I just want to say I am really impressed with how you've responded and handled this situation.
Thank you.
I mean, for somebody as young as you, I mean, I'm not terribly older than you, but I know Jason's kind of the old fellow among us. I always have to bring that up.
I'm only 43. Relax.
Yeah, it's fine. So,
that's not bad. She goes, oh, that's not bad.
No.
But in all seriousness, you were in your 20s when you were going through these crazy hard days.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, thank you guys for having me on and sharing Wyatt's story. People like you, like I said, you guys in the media, you guys help keep my cause afloat. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll try to push somebody else in the podcast industry to chat with you too.
Okay.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm actually super impressed with your energy at 9:30 after
Seriously.
taking care of Wyatt all day and trying to earn.
You know what
some
it is?
money.
It's because I'm not sitting on a couch. I'm sitting in like a chair that's not like the comfiest.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta sit with posture and
Right.
Yeah. If I had a blanket on me sitting on the couch, I would
be out.
Out.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to disconnect
Thanks,
from
guys.
the live stream, and but I'd like to talk to you after we're done. So hang tight there. So
Okay.
thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.